There exists a place in the mountains of Lebanon where time seems to have stopped, not in the romantic sense, but in a way that makes modern engineers nervous. In 27 BC, a Roman architect named Vitruvius documented something he saw in the quarries here, something that should be impossible. An 800-ton block of limestone, not 800 pounds, 800 tons. And the question that's haunted historians for 2,000 years isn't just, how did they move it? It's whether they could do it again today. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, I need you to do something for me before we go any further. Hit that like button. I know you haven't even heard the story yet, but trust me, in the next 60 minutes, you're going to encounter a mystery that will stay with you. And when it does, I want you to come back and hit that notification bell so you never miss another exploration into the impossible. Subscribe, right now. Because what we're about to uncover together is the kind of knowledge that changes how you see the ancient world. Do it. And then, come with me into the silence of the stones. Welcome back. For the next hour, we're going to sit with one of archaeology's most persistent whispers. Not a scream, not evidence that screams from the rooftops, but a whisper so consistent, so technically stubborn, that it refuses to be explained away. This is the story of Baalbek, and this is the story of how we might have gotten the entire mystery wrong. Most people, when they think of ancient engineering marvels, picture Egypt, the pyramids, the geometric precision, the labor estimates. We've done the math on those, right? Hundreds of workers, ramps, levers, the full catalogue of ancient technology. But Baalbek is different. Baalbek sits about 50 kilometers inland from Beirut, Lebanon. It's at the edge of the Bekaa Valley, in a place that, for most of human history, was considered the absolute center of the world. The Romans called it Heliopolis, city of the sun. They built a temple there, a temple so ambitious, so geometrically perfect and so structurally impossible that even the Romans, who conquered the known world with mathematics and concrete, looked at what they inherited and decided to make it bigger. Here's where the mystery begins. Not with the Romans, with whoever came before. The foundation of the Baalbek temple complex wasn't built by the Romans found it, and they built their temple on top of it. This is crucial. Listen carefully, because this detail will come back. The foundation consists of a platform made of 3 types of stone. The largest blocks, and I mean absurdly large, are positioned in what's called the platform of the giants. These aren't the final visible stones. These are the foundation stones, the stones that everything else sits on. The smallest of these blocks weighs 300 tons, now 300 tons. Your brain might be struggling with this. Let me give you a frame of reference. The largest blocks the Egyptians moved for the Great Pyramid. Approximately 2.5 tons, maybe up to 80 tons for the largest granite sarcophagus. A fully loaded freight train car can carry about 30 tons. To move a 300-ton block, you'd need approximately 10 freight train cars worth of weight, pushed by human hands, or whatever ancient technology was available. But the largest stone in the Baalbek platform isn't 300 tons, it isn't 500 tons. The largest block in the platform, a stone simply called the Trilithon, weighs approximately 800 tons. Some estimates place it at 900. To give you a visceral sense of scale, the Statue of Liberty weighs 225 tons. The largest supertanker ship ever built weighs 564,000 tons, but that's distributed across 400 meters of hull. This single stone is 4 meters long, 3.5 meters wide, and 2.4 meters tall. It's basically a 4-story building made of solid limestone, and it's sitting in a foundation that predates the Romans by centuries. Now, before we go any further, let me ask you the question that's been keeping archaeologists awake at night. Who moved it? And more importantly, how? In 2014, a team of engineering students from MIT, brilliant kids, cutting-edge thinking, decided to test something. They wanted to see if they could move a single 45-ton stone using ancient techniques. Not replica stones, a real piece of limestone scaled to a proportion of the Baalbek blocks, 45 tons. They used wooden sledges, ropes, water to reduce friction, and a small team of people. It worked, they moved it. Impressive demonstration of ancient ingenuity. But here's what they didn't do. They didn't try to move 800 tons. And when I say they didn't try, I mean the physics becomes so radically different at that scale that the techniques that work for 45 tons don't scale proportionally. A stone twice as heavy doesn't need twice the workforce. It needs exponentially more, because friction doesn't scale linearly. Structural integrity of wooden sledges doesn't scale linearly. The mathematics of moving an 800-ton block enters a completely different territory. And this is where the whisper becomes interesting, because the whisper says, they knew something we don't. Let's talk about logistics, real practical logistics. The limestone for Baalbek didn't materialize out of thin air. It came from somewhere. And that somewhere is a quarry, not far away, just slightly inland in the same valley. When archaeologists have examined this quarry, they found something fascinating. Tool marks. Ancient tool marks on stones that were extracted but never moved. This tells us something immediate. They abandoned the quarry. They got what they needed and moved on. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is where these stones were located within the quarry and where they needed to go. The 800-ton stone, and this is measured and documented, would have needed to be transported approximately 900 meters from the quarry to the temple site. 900 meters, not a vast distance, but 900 meters of ascending terrain, through a valley, uphill. Now let's do the math that archaeologists have been quietly doing for decades. If you're moving an 800-ton stone with ancient technology, and let's be generous and say you have both wooden sledges and human labor, you need to overcome friction and gravity simultaneously. The coefficient of friction for stone on sand or packed earth, approximately 0.5 to 0.7. That means the resistance force on moving an 800-ton stone is between 400 and 560 tons of pure physical resistance. To overcome that with human power alone, you'd need, and I'm being conservative here, between 3,000 and 5,000 individuals pulling in synchronized coordination for hours, possibly days, over 900 meters of ascending terrain. Now, the Baalbek complex contains multiple stones of this size, not just one, multiple. Which means, if we're accepting the conventional theory, this process repeated again and again and again. And there's no archaeological evidence of a city large enough to support 5,000 workers in that region during the time period when these stones were supposedly moved. No settlement remains, no pottery middens, no burial sites proportional to that population. Nothing. But here's where it gets weirder. The stones aren't just moved, they're positioned with extraordinary precision. The joints between the Trilithon blocks and the stones around them. We're talking about tolerances measured in millimeters. Millimeters. The Romans had precision tools, measuring instruments, geometry that was ahead of its time. But the foundation at Baalbek predates the Romans. So here's the question that's been asked in hushed tones in university archaeology departments. Who had the technology? Who had the workforce? Who had the need for this level of engineering precision? And perhaps most importantly, why did they stop? This is where I need to pause and do something unconventional. I need to tell you what archaeologists aren't talking about in public, not because they're hiding something, not because there's some grand conspiracy, but because the evidence sits in a space between interesting and unexplainable. And that's a very uncomfortable space for science to occupy. In 1984, Swiss engineer Hans Barth conducted a survey of the Baalbek temple complex. He was looking for what you might expect: construction techniques, evidence of ramps, tool marks, anything that would indicate ancient building methods. What he found instead was dissonance. The stones on the upper tiers of the temple, the ones the Romans clearly added, showed standard construction evidence. Tool marks consistent with bronze and iron implements, wear patterns from stone saws, evidence of wooden platforms, all of it trackable, all of it explainable. But the foundation stones, the massive Trilithon blocks, tool marks that don't match anything else at the site, wear patterns that suggest techniques that should have been impossible with known ancient technology, and positioning that defies conventional explanation for how you'd arrange 800-ton blocks using human labor and ropes. Barth published his findings, and then, largely, the academic establishment moved on, not because he was wrong, but because he was raising questions that didn't have clean answers. And academia, like all institutions, prefers clean answers. But the questions remained, because in the 1970s and 1980s, something else happened. Archaeological teams started finding evidence of a much older civilization at Baalbek than previously documented, not Roman, not Greek, but something earlier. Pottery fragments dated to periods when, according to conventional dating, sophisticated stone architecture shouldn't have been possible. Now, pottery can be deceiving. Fragments can be misidentified. Dating can have margins of error. But multiple independent teams found similar evidence in multiple locations at the site, which means either they were all making the same mistake, or they were finding evidence of something that predates what we thought Baalbek was. The Romans, when they encountered Baalbek, called it pre-existing. In historical documents, there's this repeated phrase, the Temple of Jupiter Heliopolitanus, built upon the foundations of elder times. This isn't poetry. This isn't speculation. Roman engineers were explicitly documenting that they found a massive structure already there, and they decided to essentially upgrade it. The Romans were not shy about claiming credit for their construction projects, but in records from that era, when referring to Baalbek's foundation, there's an unusual modesty, a strange admission that this part was already here. Someone else built this. We just added on top. And that's a significant detail, because the Romans didn't defer credit easily. So whatever they found at Baalbek was impressive enough to make them contextually admit they hadn't built it. Which brings us to the question that nobody asks publicly anymore. What if the mystery of Baalbek isn't about how they moved the stones? What if the mystery is who they were? Now, I need to be precise here, because this is where the conversation often derails into pseudoscience. There are legitimate theories about Baalbek, and then there are other theories. Let me address the other theories first, quickly, so we can dispense with them. Some people propose extraterrestrial construction. Aliens, basically. I understand the appeal. An 800-ton stone moved with unknown technology feels impossible. So, aliens. But this reasoning commits what I call the sufficiently advanced fallacy. Just because something is technically impressive doesn't mean it was constructed by beings from another planet. It just means someone at some point in history figured out how to do something we haven't refigured out yet, which is already interesting enough. You don't need aliens. But there are legitimate theories that deserve serious consideration. Theory 1. Seismic alignment and natural geology. Some engineers have proposed that the Trilithon blocks weren't moved horizontally at all. They were already there, positioned by natural geological processes over millennia, and the ancients simply recognized them, cleared surrounding rock, and built around them. This would be remarkable in a different way, not for superhuman engineering, but for superhuman observation and adaptation. They saw something in the landscape and built with it, not against it. There's geological evidence that supports portions of this theory. Limestone deposits in the Baalbek Valley do show unusual formations, natural columns and blocks that are larger than normal. But the counter-argument is equally compelling. The precision of placement, the perfect geometric alignment, and the evidence of deliberate stacking suggests intentional arrangement, not coincidence. Theory 2. Advanced ancient techniques we haven't reconstructed. This is the theory that most archaeologists privately support, even if they don't emphasize it publicly. The idea is that ancient civilizations, whether that's the Romans, the people before them, or someone else entirely, had a combination of engineering knowledge that we haven't fully reverse-engineered. Specifically, some theorists point to evidence of water channels at Baalbek, ancient hydraulic systems, waterways that suggest a level of engineering sophistication that goes beyond simple irrigation. What if they weren't just using water for drinking or farming? What if water was integral to the construction process itself? Hydraulic systems could reduce friction. Water pressure could theoretically assist in moving massive loads. Combined with leverage systems, inclined planes, and a labor force properly organized and trained, it's not impossible, it's just unknown, and that's the crucial detail. It's unknown, not impossible. Unknown. These are different things. Impossible means it can't happen. Unknown means we haven't figured out how it happened. But here's what keeps scholars awake at night. It's not any single theory that's compelling. It's that multiple theories could theoretically work, and we have no definitive evidence for any of them. The stones are moved. They're positioned precisely. The foundations predate documented civilization. And then, it stops. No more stones of this size are moved. The technology, whatever it is abandoned. Which raises a question that's somehow more mysterious than the original mystery. Why did they stop? In the Baalbek quarry, there are stones that were extracted but never moved. Not just one, not two, multiple stones, ranging from 300 to 600 tons that were clearly worked on, marked with extraction techniques and then abandoned. Why would you extract a 600-ton stone, go through all the effort to prepare it, and then just leave it? The conventional answer is simple. Something interrupted the work. War maybe, economic collapse, a change in priorities. All plausible, all reasonable. But plausible and reasonable don't address the precision of abandonment. If work was interrupted mid-project, you'd expect to see evidence of haste, incomplete marks, disrupted pattern in the extraction sequence. Instead, what archaeologists found is orderly abandonment. The stones are left in positions that suggest the work concluded deliberately, not interrupted suddenly. Which means whoever was building at Baalbek didn't stop because they ran out of time or resources. They stopped because they chose to stop. And here's where the whisper becomes something more than a whisper. It becomes a question about knowledge itself. What if the people who moved those 800-ton stones understood something about engineering, about physics, about the mobilization of resources that was lost, not preserved, not recorded in a way we could access, but lost? Civilizations fall, knowledge disappears, libraries burn, oral traditions fade. It happens all the time throughout human history. What makes Baalbek different is that it left physical evidence. The stones don't lie. They're still there 2,000 years later, challenging us to explain them. And we can't. Not definitively, not completely. We can propose theories. We can conduct experiments with smaller stones. We can build computer models and run hydraulic simulations. But the fundamental question, how did they actually do this, remains unanswered. And maybe that's the point. There's a temptation, when faced with something we don't understand, to either 1. Dismiss it as impossible and move on. Or 2. Invent an explanation that makes us comfortable. Aliens are comforting in a weird way. It explains the impossibility by removing responsibility. If aliens built it, we don't have to feel inadequate. But what if we're asking the wrong question entirely? What if the real mystery isn't, how did they move 800-ton stones? What if it's, what did we lose when that knowledge disappeared? Baalbek stands as a monument to human ambition, not just the ambition of the people who built it, but the ambition of every subsequent civilization that looked at those stones and tried to understand them. The Romans, medieval scholars, Renaissance architects, Enlightenment engineers, modern physicists. Everyone who encounters Baalbek becomes part of its story. In 2019, a team of archaeologists from multiple universities conducted a comprehensive survey of Baalbek. Modern LiDAR technology, drone mapping, ground-penetrating radar, all the cutting-edge tools of contemporary archaeology applied to an ancient site. And what did they confirm? That the stones are exactly where we thought they were, that the precision is exactly as documented, and that the techniques remain unknown. The difference is, now we have more questions, better questions. Questions that might eventually lead to answers. Because that's what Baalbek teaches us, that mysteries aren't failures of knowledge. They're invitations to deeper understanding. The 800-ton stones don't move anymore, but they're still teaching. Not through revelation, but through silence. And sometimes the most honest answer a monument can give is, I am here, I was built, I am heavy, and I will outlast your certainty. The question of Baalbek isn't solved. Maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe it's meant to stand as a reminder that there are still mysteries in the world. Not mysteries that require supernatural explanation, but mysteries that require intellectual humility. The kind of humility that says, we don't know how this was done, and that's okay. that not knowing is the beginning of understanding. Baalbek remains, the stones remain. And somewhere in a university department, an archaeologist is looking at those same measurements, those same impossible proportions, and wondering, what would it take to move that? What knowledge would it require? And when we figure it out, what else will we have finally understood about ourselves?